Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome everyone to Introduction to Industrial Engineering. Today we'll continue with our 5 areas of industrial engineering, and we will discuss today quality and reliability. Quality and reliability is a wide application and a wide area that we see many applications comes under the quality and reliability. We have, for example, statistical process control, where you control your process in whether manufacturing or service using some statistical tools. Six Sigma is very well known name for continuous improvement and reducing variability in the process. Continuous improvement, in general, it has other methods than the Six Sigma, but Six Sigma was mentioned here as the popularity or it's famous in the applications. Taguchi method to reduce noise in the production or in the process. And when we talk about noise here is the loss. In general, design of experiment or the experimental design, تصميم التجارب, this is all it will be handled using in separate course. As well as statistical process control, it handled in quality control course. Continuous improvement, Six Sigma, they are an elective course called quality improvement methods. Reliability, it's another area that related to quality, and they work together. Also discussed in a course called reliability. Maintainability, قابلية الصيانة. When you have a system, you have to measure the maintainability for that system. Total quality management, lean, and lean also that comes with the Six Sigma, and we often hear the Lean Six Sigma that for improvement and also for reducing process variability and process wastes. Quality improvement methods, as we said, discover some of those methods and others like Kaizen, Kanban, or Jidoka, or all the other quality principles comes here in this course. And also it's separate in separate course you go on details with these methods. Quality function deployment is very well known and common to be used by all engineers when you translate the specification of the customers into requirements in the design, and you consider that in your design. All these methods will be discussed in other courses, whether we're going to be a core courses or electives. Today, we just, as we used to do in other areas, we just touch the surface of this area of quality and talk a bit today about, in general, about the quality. What's the quality? What's the importance of quality? Quality, to understand the importance of quality, here we talk about it's often is a major issue in a purchase decision. Poor quality can be expensive for both the producing firm and the customer. So the quality, this is to show that or clarify that quality doesn't mean that a high price. Not every time that a high price representing the quality, okay? So the quality, when you have a poor quality, actually it's going to be expensive for both sides, for the firm that producing, whether about the return of the products, the complaints from the customers, or the warranty that has to cover the technical failures or the defects in the product. Also from the customer perspective, the value of that product will be not comparable to the amount of money that's spent. So it will be also a cost for the customer, whether it's going to be repaired, so he will be delayed, and that delay considered to be cost, or it's going to be unrepairable, and that also will be another cost. And also the cost of failure and unmeeting his expectation. That's another expense and another cost from the customer perspective. Quality management or quality control is critical throughout the organization. An organization, whether manufacturing or service, especially with the nowadays with the mass production, logistics, companies are now, they have to work in a large scale to maintain demands or worldwide, or also to sustain and be there in this challenge on this market that's grow bigger and faster, especially with the development of technology. So involving quality management and control in the organization is very important to guarantee that your sustainability in the market and in terms of meeting your customers' demand. Customers' demands, this you will hear it all the time when we talk about the quality, because it's all about the customers' needs. Quality is important, as we said, for both manufacturing and service. When we go in defining what is the quality, there is no one specific definition for quality, and there are many definitions, even more than the one we are stating here, but we are giving some of them here to show how the quality and what is the quality means in terms of different perspective. But all of them, they agreed about the customers meeting, the customers' needs, the customer specification. As we will see, the first here is the degree of to which a specific product conforms to a design or specification. مستوى المنتج أو الخدمة إنها تحقق متطلبات أو مواصفات اللي هي تم وضعها في مرحلة الديزاين. So you have your design specification, الويت حق البرودكت ولا اللايف باتري للفون or the resolution of your screen. This design specification, okay, the degree how you meet this specification in your product, this is considered to be a quality. Quality is the totality of features and characteristics of product or service that bears on its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. So again, features or characteristics, مواصفات of product or service. Now we see that the product and service can go here. Ability to satisfy the stated or implied needs. The needs, whether from the customers, from the organization vision or goals, how you satisfy those needs, whether from the product or the service, that's the quality. The feature and the characteristics اللي هي المواصفات اللي تكون موجودة في منتجك وفي خدمتك تحقق الاحتياجات. This is the quality. Also, quality can be defined as fitness for use. Fitness for use, and here we're talking about the usability of a product, or sometimes even fitness of needs if it's about the service perspective. This is defined by Juran. He's one of the qualities guru or scientist known in the quality field. Quality is defined by the customer. Customer want product and service that throughout their lives meet customers' needs and expectation at a cost that represent value. Define here about the quality is defined by the customer perspective. Again, العميل في الخدمة ولا المنتج عنده احتياجات ومتطلبات. How you meet his requirements, considering the cost, and represent القيمة للمبلغ أو للقيمة الكوست اللي هو حيدفع في مقابل الخدمات اللي هو أو المنتج أو المواصفات اللي هو يتطلبها This is a quality. Here is a good statement or definition about quality. يعني that is someone, it seems like, okay, I'm not going to define to you the quality, but I'm going to give you this statement that clearly show you what the quality means. Even though quality cannot be defined, you know what it is. يعني حتى لو انه الجودة ما نقدر نعرفها، انت تعرفها او انت يعني حتكون عارفها من غير ما نقول لك. There are many other definitions, and some other definitions are even from different perspective. For example, I give you that one of the definitions, level of excellence, مستوى التميز, and that is not mentioning the customer's requirements or demand or design specification like what we see here, or how you stating or satisfying the statements of the needs. That's another level. كيف انك تكون متميز, level of excellence او مستوى التميز. That's the definition of also one of the other definitions of quality. So there are definitions of quality, and people looks to the quality from different perspective, as we see here. When we talked about the customer's needs or customer requirements, we want to show you that if we ask the customers about their requirements in certain product, let's say car or phones or computers, and we take samples from variety of ages and let's say countries and genders, and we ask them all, we will get a set of requirements that differ in terms of the priority or the importance from one others. Some they are concerning about, let's say, if taking about the car example, I take this example since it is one of the examples that all of us we involve in and we can see it easily. Maybe some think about the reliability as the quality in terms of the car. يعني جودة السيارة, جودة متانتها, reliability of that car, إنه قابلة للعمل سنوات بدون ما يكون عندي يعني failures كتير over the time. The maintainability of that car is at low cost. Some others think about it, يعني, or the availability of the spare parts. This is availability. This is another concept, okay? Because when it's not available, that means the availability of my product is going to be reduced. كيف يعني الكلام ده؟ إنه السيارة حقتي الavailability حقت السبير بارتس, القطع الغيار, ما هي متوفرة, معناها توفر سيارتي في وقت الاحتياج حيقل. ليش؟ لأنه وقت الأعطال حتبقى سيارتي out of service waiting for a spare parts. Some think about the quality from a different perspective. The style of the car. He likes to have an aerodynamic style or stylish car. The lids, the lights. Some no, they look for the features that they offer me. The safety, for example, how many safety bags, the adaptive brakes, اللي هو automated, that stops before accidents happen, to prevent accidents. How many camera? I have 360 or bird view camera in the car. Some they look at it as maybe speed or engine. They like performance cars. Some they look for the fuel economy. Their needs is for maybe frequent using for the car, so they look for something that is very fuel. I'm sure that what I've stated, most of you, they want it or they like to see them in their cars, but having all of them in one, it could, and at the end, yes, here, at the end, put this in your mind. Where was the sentence here? When it says that, yes, here, at the cost that represent value. يعني imagine when you put all these, and as I said, maybe all of you wants to see it, but when you put it in versus the cost, things has to be prioritized compared to others. And in terms of the manufacturing and in terms of the customer value. لأنه as the manufacturing, if the cost increase, that doesn't mean it's improving or increasing the quality. This is a cumulative cost at the end. It will also reflect to the quality at the end from the customer perspective if is not meeting the requirements. Why? Because it could be also referring to sometimes, يعني, for example, luxury, the car or the styling car, it comes versus, for example, a failure that comes over the time, or availability of the raw material, or the maintainability, أو عملية simplicity in the maintaining that car. So when you comes to more complex system and you get that is not about the things that whenever you go up in the price, that means the quality goes up. Sometimes it's a trade-off between things that where has the company or the manufacturer has to prioritize what is the customer's needs first, and then try to work on the customer's demands or the specification in their specifications and designs to meet it with the value of cost, اللي هو القيمة يعني الراجعة للعميل، هي value of money يسموها، يعني القيمة الحقيقية لكل ريال بتدفع بتنعكس على على الاحتياجات الحقيقية اللي أنت بتحطها. فنرجع when we said about those requirements, everyone wants to see them, but definitely there will be some prioritization in the sample that we collected from different people, from different ages, different genders, different countries, different needs for the car. So it will be some kind of prioritization. Here is what they call it, the market share. The customers and the company, the smart companies who knows the majority of their market share and the priority of the requirements and specifications. So they focus on this المواصفات specifications first that impact on the customer's requirements اللي هي بتكون highly impact عليهم. فخلينا نقول إنه المعظم اتفق على first two things or three things in the beginning اللي هو مثلا reliability, fuel economy, and let's say maybe the features, the safety features, for example. So if those are the major three requirements into my market share اللي هو الحصة السوقية اللي أنا أبغى يعني أشتغل عليها، فأنا I focus on my customer on my product design على هذه three majority to be higher compared to my competitors المنافسين عني في السوق، حتى أقدر أدخل على الزون هذه بسهولة جدا وأرضي العملاء أو أكسب عملاء عندي أكبر في السوق. فهي is not about just having something that expensive يعني معناها خلاص إنه هو it's a better quality. Sometimes very expensive cars and easily break down, for example, okay? It doesn't mean that, and now here we're talking about the breakdown compared to person, he looks for the reliability as the quality. لكن on the other hand, the person who got that car, that's very expensive, and it doesn't matter if it's break off easily or the maintenance is expensive, because there he looks about something else, maybe the style or the engine, or the speed, sport cars, for example, or even luxury car that, for example, the comfort riding or something like that. So the customer needs is very important to measure the quality and to design for quality. Speaking about after speaking about the quality in general and definition, there are methods or principles in the quality that we need to be aware of and know them are what total quality management, TQM, and that refers to a quality emphasize that encompass the entire organization from supplier to customer, meeting the customer's expectation, require an emphasis on TQM if the firm is to compete as a leader in the world markets. What does that mean? It means that if you are going to implement the total quality management principle, we have to look to the overall picture. The overall picture means that the customers, the supplier اللي هم حيوفروا لك الماتيريال وحيوفروا لك الخام اللي انت حتستخدمه for building your product, for the process, for the internal staff or internal organization you have, process, operations, all that you will work as a one unit and integrated as a one unit in terms of implementing the quality or total quality management. For the statistical process control, this is another principle or techniques or method, let's say, that comes under the area of quality. Statistical process control involves establishing and monitoring standards, making measurements, and taking corrective actions as a product or service is being produced. الفرق هناك it's more of management philosophy or for the entire organization to meet the customer expectation. Here you establish تنشئ وتراقب standards, making measurements تأخذ قياسات, and three functions: establishing and monitoring standards. يعني أول حاجة تنشئ standards, تراقب هذه الستاندردز by also taking measurements, making measurements, and then taking corrective actions based on those measurements you have collected, whether are you meeting the standards or you have to take corrective actions for the product or the service is being produced. For the total quality management, the total quality management works in different directions. All of them are integrated together under the total quality management. You have to work for the training of your staff. You have to work for the process thinking, customer satisfaction, total employee commitment, اللي هو خلينا نقول الولاء الوظيفي ولا يعني الفوكس for your employee, whether training, how you have your employee يعني believe on your organization's objectives and goals and work that as it's their own objectives and goals. Teamwork, strategic and systematic approach, integrated systems, decision based on fact, continuous improvement, effective communication, training, all these to be integrated under the total quality management. In this session, we will focus more on the statistical process control, since this will be also discussed later, and this is frequently used in your program in the industrial engineering. So we'll focus on the statistical process control more. We will give some of the tools that is very common to you, and maybe you've seen it before, but it's good to remind you about them because you will use them a lot during your journey here in the industrial engineering program. A histogram. Histogram is very common and widely used. It's a graphical representation of recorded values in a data set according to the frequency of occurrence. بناء على ظهور هذه الداتا بنعرضها بشكل اللي هو يعني بياني. It's a bar chart, so it's a bar chart, numerical variables giving graphical representation of how the data are distributed. There are several advantages of applying histogram. The main two advantages in continuous improvement or in implementing the statistical process control is display large amounts of data easily. يعني you can look to large data in one graph and you can extract information. The second thing is you can underlie the distribution of the data by looking to the graph easily. تقدر تعطي اللي هو منحنى الداتا أو اللي هو نوع الديستريبيوشن أو توزيع الداتا سواء كانت normal distribution or exponential distribution or any others. حتى you can tell what is the variability and central tendency اللي هو التغير في الداتا كيف بيكون والتمركز في الداتا فين الافريج. It's easily you can tell. For example, let's look at this figure here. Imagine if you are comparing, this is from one of my courses grades. I have collected the final grades, and if you look at this data and ask you to extract the information, it will be hard for you to identify what is the average, how is the data, whether it's skewed to right or left, are they normal distributed or no. But if you translate it or transform it into histogram, which is easily to do that by having the frequency of appearance for each of those categories. يعني you define or set a category, for example, from 0 to 17, from 17 to 34. You can put A students, B students, C students, until, for example, failed students into categories. And you put, for example, for A, you put from 90 to, let's say, 100. So A and A plus are together here, B and B plus, for example. But here I distribute in other ways. For example, here is the highest. From 85 to 102, there is no one over 100, but since it was just generated automatically using the software, he does the range, but you can specify the range if you want. So all the students from B plus and above here, students are from D to B plus, or D plus to B plus is here. Here are a mix of failed students, and then all the remaining are the students who failed. But as I said, the categories here, you can adjust it based on what you are really looking for. But the thing here, you can tell that يعني easily from the figure, the majority passing the course, the majority of students are falling between D plus and around B or B plus. Also, there are a good number that of students are having a high score and above 85. A little skewed to the right, and that's expected since is having that distribution starting, or the categories from 0 to 100, and considering that the passing rate is over the average, which is the 50 of this range. So you are going to expect that the data a little bit skewed to the right, since most of the time the majority of students are passing. So the average will be above the 60 in most cases. This information, we could extract it easily from the distribution here or the histogram here compared to a data. And imagine if you have a larger data than this one here, how you can extract such information like that. So as I said, this can easily represent the data, can tell you about the center tendency of the data اللي هو المتوسط. It's clearly, if you think about it, it's coming in this area, and all the data is a little skewed to the right, kind of normally distributed. If you think about it, this the curve, a little number of students, even if those were categorized in a better way, you can look at them and they are going to represent mostly normal distribution with the right skewed. اللي هو skewed يعني بيكون عندي زي الشفت على الجهة، أحد الجهات إما لليمين أو اليسار حسب الماجوريتي اوف ماي readings. فإحنا زي ما قلنا هنا بحكم إنه درجات النجاح بتكون أصلاً أعلى من 60 أو تقريباً 60 وأعلى. ولو أخذنا إنه هو الرينج حق الأرقام ما حيتعدى من 0 إلى 100، فغالباً حيكون عندي هنا أو شفت حيكون ناحية اليمين، لأنه في الغالب المتوسط حيكون أعلى من 60. ف I'm talking about the majority. يعني there are, I know some courses may be skewed to left even. This is depend on the data you collected, but one of the tool that under statistical process control is very widely used, histogram. Other tool also it's a bar chart, but here it's a different. It looks like the histogram, but here the way how you represent the data is different and tells other things than the histogram. Pareto chart is a special form of a bar chart that rank orders. rank يترتب أو تعمل ترتيب لإيش؟ حسب الداتا اللي أنت بتجمعها والtype of data. Bars from the highest to lowest in order to prioritize problems of any nature. So the main use to investigating problems, you use the Pareto chart to find the source of the problems, and you then use the Pareto also to prioritize this source of problems. عندي مشكلة customer complaints، يعني عملاء عندي غير راضين أو شكاوى العملاء. الفريكونسي تكرار الشكوى it comes from the documents، يعني المستندات أو النماذج المستخدمة 40 times from documents, 32 times come from the product quality. المنتج حقي جودته، الشكاوي بتيجي بسبب جودة المنتج 32 times. From the packaging اللي هو التغليف 11 times. التوصيل بتيجي الشكاوي 7. and other complaints 4 times. So if I use this table and use the operator for this table, it will be represented this way. So it will order the frequency of the problems based on the category. Here, for example, the documents has the highest frequency, then the product quality, then packaging, delivery, others. Here it becomes يعني by chance ordered from the highest to lowest, and also we have a few. But if you have more and they are يعني they are not set in order, the Pareto order those based on the frequency and show you the percentage compared to the overall. For example, the percent of the documents is 42 compared to the total of the customer complaints. Pareto النيم هذا حق الاسم جاء من عالم إيطالي Alfredo Pareto, who observed that 80% of the effects are caused by 20% of the causes, and they call this 80-20 rule. إيش الكلام معناه ده؟ 80-20 rule تقول لك إذا ركزت على أنت 20% من المسببات عالجت 80% من الأعراض. ال 20% هذه غالباً تكون مبنية على الباريتو. إيش معناها؟ ال 20% في البداية دي هي بتكون الأكثر ظهور. فإذا عالجتها بتعالج لك تقريباً 80% of your effect اللي هو العارض اللي بيكون عندك اللي هو customer complaints. So you can reduce customer complaints if you focus on the 20% of the causes. 20% of the causes represent here the documents and product quality. By just moving to the total percent, that's automatically drawn here. هذا representing a cumulative percentage. So 80% it will hit here. If you go down, you will see yourself that and you are in the first two categories here. If you focus on those two, that's where you need to focus if you have limited resources. If you can focus on improving all of them or eliminate them, this is fine. But Pareto helps you to prioritize. Prioritize معناها أحطهم في order بحيث أنا أركز على مين أكثر في البداية اركز على الاكثر مسببات واخذ 20 منهم 20% منهم غالبا في الغالب انهم هم حيغطوا لي 80% من مشاكل الكاستمر complaints if I focus on the documents and product quality in our example here. So the Pareto looks like a histogram in terms of the bar chart, but the way how we represent the data is to prioritize the data based on the highest to lowest to investigate for problems and causes of the problems. So this is also very useful tools in the analyze of using statistical process control in analyzing the process statistically. So you can trigger where are you focusing for improving your process. Moving on with other also very common tool, and you will spend a lot of time in this tool and other course called quality control, which is the control chart. Control chart is very famous, especially manufacturing or even the service, consists of a graph. This is an example of how the control charts looks, with a time on a horizontal axis. المحور الأفقي هو يعبر عن الوقت, time, whether month, years, whatever, and an individual measurement like mean or range or on the vertical axis. And measurements في vertical axis, so you can see ranges here and you see the data are on the vertical axis. So the data here representing the vertical axis that appeared on this specific time moment. For example, if I want to measure حتى الستوكس اللي بيشوفوا سوق الأسهم المالي, you can see سعر السهم في اليوم الأول أو في بداية اليوم أو في الشهر الأول. هنا الشهر الثاني السهم نزل also, but for the stock طبعا the control chart, they don't be used as we are going to explain here. They use a run chart regular that doesn't have borders or lines like here, the control limits. Here for the things that has a design specification. For example, your product has a specification in terms of the width or length, طول أو عرض المنتج حقك. فأنت بتقيس المنتج سواء الطول أو العرض له أو المواصفات, and you see it over time from your samples of your product line, and those borders here, the red lines, they call them the control limits, اللي هي ال upper control limits اللي هي فوق, وال lower control limits اللي هي تحت, والبلو هنا اللي في النص هذا يسموه central limit or ال process average. So control charts can be used examining a historical set of data and for contemporary information. This done by determining whether a process is stable and for distinguishing usual causes or variability or unusual causes or variability. إيش معنى هذا الكلام؟ معناها إحنا بنستخدم الكنترول شارت لداتا سابقة. Some now with the technology they use it simultaneously, but this needs integrated with your system simultaneously. But in most of the cases they use it for historical data. يعني يكون عندك collected measures from your product line. عندك samples أخذتها من خط الإنتاج وبتقيسها وتتأكد إنها ضمن المواصفات. فلما بتاخذ السامبل وتقيسها وتشوف السبيسيفيكيشن حقتها, بتحط قيمة المواصفات اللي أنت بتقيسها, الطول أو العرض, تختار حاجة أنت بتجربها وبتقيسها over the time, whether days or weeks or months or year, طبعا يعتمد. وبتشوف هذه القراءات how they are meeting your control limits. إيش الكنترول limits؟ center line اللي هو الافريج, الكنترول upper والlower هو shows indicate if your product specification is exceeding those control limits, معناها something happened that you are exceeding المواصفات اللي انت حطيتها, ف you have to take action for correction and see what was the cause of that issue. In developing control charts, we have to identify or distinguish between the type of data first, because each type of data has a different type of control chart. The data either variable or variable or attribute. The variables data, and I believe that you already covered it in statistics, and that's why it's prerequisite and considered to be a core for the industrial engineering, because really we rely on the statistics heavily in this major, as you see also that in the operations research, also in the solving optimization, linear programming, mathematics, statistics are heavily used, especially in the quality control when we do design of experiment or using quality control. The type of data again, variables يعني like time, temperature, this is variable data. Attribute, a number of people over 60, number of defects appeared in the product, the percentage of students has A. So the proportion or number, we call it attribute. الcontinuous data هي data variable, or variable it's a continuous data like time, dimensions, اللي هو الأبعاد, weight, all these considered to be variables data. We use X bar R commonly, not the only one, but commonly X bar R chart, R for the variable data. X bar mean اللي هو المين المتوسط, والR اللي هو for the range. The control chart used for process that measure continuous units. الX bar focus على السنترال اللي هو مركزية الداتا أو المركزية القراءات للبروسيس. الR على انتظام القراءات في البروسيس. هنا بيركز على المركزية المين الافريج، وهير بيركز على اليونيفورميتي اللي هو انتظام قراءاتك للبروسيس. Both of them work together. So when we do control charts for variable, if we are going to select X bar R, we do those two, يعني خلينا نقول كأنهم twin، يشتغلوا مع بعض، ما يكونوا individually. When you do X bar R, you always construct, in the most of the time, you construct both of them together, because one look for the center tendency and the other looks for uniformity. So both charts must be used when monitoring variables. For the attributes, as we said, classified defectives or non-defective, number of defects, two kind of control charts in common to be used. If you are measuring percent of defective, نسبة أو ratio, فنستخدم ال P chart. If we are counting for the number of defects, عدد الأخطاء أو عدد العيوب المصنعية اللي ظهرت في المنتج، معناها نستخدم السي شارت. إيش الفرق بين الديفكتيف والديفكتس؟ ديفكتيف معناها منتج عطلان، يعني percent of defective عدد المنتجات العطلانة اللي هي غير قابلة للإنتاج أو التصليح أو إعادة هذا يعني تصحيحها. So we call it defective, عطلان. Similar to when you get a product has a scratch, a little scratch. This is a defect, or delay in the delivery. This is a defect. But defective معناها the product is not working, is not delivered at all. The product was not the one that you ordered. If we are talking in terms of the process as the delivery process, or يعني إذا كنا بنتكلم على عملية التوصيل، فالتوصيل نقول عليه defective إذا كان المنتج ما وصلني مثلا، في مقابل إنه يكون defects وصلني لكن متأخر. لكن إذا كنا نتكلم عن المنتج نفسه مو عملية التوصيل، المنتج جاني وفيه له سكراتش صغير كده، هذا ديفكت. لكن المنتج جاني وخربان، الشاشة ما تشتغل، الجهاز ما يشتغل، هذا ديفكتيف. ديفكتيف عطلان، ديفكت عيوب. اوكي. طيب to build the control charts after we knew that the type of data, whether variable or attribute, there are the decision tree, how we construct the control charts. We start first from the beginning. Is the data continuous or discrete? Discrete معناها attribute, continuous معناها variable. Variable data, temperature, height, weight، هذه الأنواع الداتا. أروح للcontinuous data. أسأل سؤال sub group size. إيش يعني sub group size؟ خط الإنتاج حقي أخذت منه 5 عينات كل مثلا 4 ساعات. إيش معناها؟ السب جروب سايز 5. So the sub group size حجم العينة. اوكي. اللي I use it for the sampling، اللي هو في مجموع العينات اللي استخدمتها، حجم العينة نفسها يكون هو sub group size. A subgroup size if greater than or equal 10, we use X bar S chart. If it is between 2 and 9, we use X bar R chart. If it is 1, then we use X bar MR or individual moving range. MR moving range. This is how we decide about the type of chart. We are not going to go further in the complexity or the statistical formulation, but at this level you need to know what are the type of data, what is the type of chart you are going to use based on the type of data and the type of the number of the sample size. If the data I have is discrete or اللي هو الاتريبيوت كلها المعنى واحد، زي ما قلنا يعني عدد الرجال، عدد النساء، عدد الأطفال، عدد العيوب في المنتج، عدد المنتجات العطلانة. So this is all discrete data. Defect or defective. Defect قلنا عيوب، defective عطلان بالكامل. So if defects, if I'm going to measure defects عيوب, again the sample size as we did here. If the sample size constant ثابت، في كل مرة أنا بأخذهم العينات بعدد ثابت، then I use the C chart. إذا العينات هنا متغيرة أعدادها، then I use U chart. For the defectives اللي هي الأعطال, if the sample size is constant, again here the same decision tree, we use NP chart. If we are going to have a variable sample size, then we use the P chart. This is you are going to use it for the quality control, and you will start from this level until you know how to develop each one of those charts and how you analyze them and how you get results from those charts. But at this level in this course, you need to be aware of this type of decision tree and type of the data you have and how you make the decision on selecting which control chart for the purpose of the, or for, depend on the service or depend on the data you have collected. Continuing with building the control charts, after we have agreed on what is the type of the control chart, we have to identify there are 2 types of variability or variation that comes in the or we can see them in the control charts. The first one we call it the natural variation. التغير الطبيعي. Any production or any process or whether service or product, there is a natural difference or the natural variation. That's why you see tolerance, and also there is something called natural tolerance اللي هو طبيعي يكون متغير عندنا في القراءات. random and uncontrollable ما تقدر تتحكم فيه، هذا شيء طبيعي بيكون مسبباته طبيعية، ما بيكون عندنا identical. But when we talk about the natural variation, is not that type of variation you think it's very high، يعني ما هو التغير الكبير جدا، هو أشياء جدا مايكرو ملي. طبعا يعتمد على products or the service. I cannot say it's micro milli every time, but it's very small compared to unnatural variation اللي هو عكس التغير الغير طبيعي. They call it assignable causes اللي هو ال variation that comes not from natural is not natural variation, comes from assignable causes. يعني special causes، في حاجات خاصة ظهرت في البروسيس وسببت هذا الشيء. لكن الناتشورال variation هو comes from common causes من الطبيعة، من ال humanity variability الطبيعي أو الماشين tolerance اللي موجودة عندك بتستخدمها فطبيعية. Two parameters. When the distribution of this variation is normal, it will have two parameters. حتكون موجودة عندنا دي parameters لما يكون عندنا distribution is normal. mean اللي هو measure of central tendency مركزية الداتا، و standard deviation how highly the data is clustered around the mean. كيف الداتا موزعة حوالين المنتصف، هذا نسميه standard deviation. وفين موقع المنتصف حقنا أو الافريج يسموه اللي هو مركزية الداتا أو المين. If the distribution remains within the specified limits اللي هي الupper والlower control, we call process is stable and in control. For the assignable causes, our assignable variation, the process is not in control. So these are, we need to stop the process, remove these out of control point from the control chart, and study the process again and investigate where this assignable causes comes from. Let's take and see an example, maybe that will make it even better, clearer. You don't have to worry about this calculation at this level. You will learn about how you calculate the control limits in the quality control course. But here there is a data for measurements, and this is what continuous data. It's a measurement, is not attribute data. يعني القراءات اللي هي قياسات، ما كانت أخطاء أو اللي هو أعداد أو أعمار. فهي إحنا اللي بنجمعها هنا أو بنشوفها قياسات. What about yes حتى عفوا الأعمار، أنا أقصد اللي هو الجنس الذكر أنثى اللي هي الاتريبيوت data. But here measurements also the age can be here as a variable data. فالaverage عندنا المتوسط they calculated based, this is the sample 1 عينة رقم 1. السب جروب if you recall 1 2 3 4 عندي sub group size or the sample group size is 4. معناها في كل عينة عندي 4 قراءات. How many samples I have? 10. An average, you calculate the average for every sample and the standard deviation. Average represent a central tendency اللي هو when the process here you draw the control chart you see المين اللي هو مركزية القراءات فينها عن منتصف الداتا. With the standard deviation shows you how they spread around the mean. How the spread is close to the mean, is wide away from the mean. اللي هو التغير في القراءات حوالين المين نسميه standard deviation. We agreed before this is the lower control limit اللي هو الحد التحكم الأقل والحد الأعلى للكنترول شارت، وهنا السنتر لاين اللي هو نفسه المين. القراءات عملوها بالشكل هذا الآن بناء على الكالكوليشنز اللي صارت. We calculated the control limits and we put the data we have here in the control chart. Now, when we look to the data, all this considered to be normal variation, but if things like this happen, this is, we call it a special cause, assignable cause. إيش يعني assignable variation؟ معناها something, the process is not in control, is exceeding the upper control limit, we have to investigate what happened here in the process. So we had this issue. The same for the things that like that, exceeding the lower control. If you are just on the lower control, it's a warning, but is not out of control. But if you are exceeding the control limits, that's mean you are going to investigate here what was the cause, and that's the useful of the control charts, helps you to identify if in your process happens like that, there is a special causes happens or special variation happens, so you go and investigate what was the reason of these special causes. There are different patterns اللي هو أنماط لقراءات في الكنترول charts, and these patterns tell us a lot of things. And also in the quality control, you will study these patterns and you will know how to identify those patterns and how you deal with them, because these could be a warning where you have also to investigate. This is, for example, normal behavior of a control chart. As we explained in the previous example, this is lower than the lower control and here above the upper control. Here two plots near upper the control limits. عندي نقطتين قريبة من upper, considering this is the upper control limits. فمعنى I have to investigate what's happening to that my process is very close to the border اللي هو للخط حق الupper control ولا lower control. فمعناها I have to investigate so avoid any thing that happen cause you something like that. طبعا maybe تسأل سؤال طبعا لو تعديت هذه النقطة إيش المشكلة؟ المشكلة إنك أنت حتنتج منتج أو تقدم خدمة أصبحت في احتمالية إنها تكون خارج أبعاد المواصفات اللي أنت حطيتها، سواء كانت للخدمة أو للمنتج. مثلا المنتج كان له أبعاد معينة، فأصبح عندي لأنه السبيسيفيكيشن ليميتس مواصفات العميل ولا مواصفات الديزاين بتكون بعد الكنترول ليميتس هنا، ويعتمد أنت قديش تحطها بعدها. هذا موضوع ثاني we will discuss it later. لكن النقطة دي قد تكون أنت حتى تعديت المواصفات المتفق عليها في المنتج أو الخدمة. فهذا ليش إحنا بتقول مثلا في بالك طيب لو صار زي كده إيش المشكلة؟ this is how important. هذه how it's important لأنها ممكن تؤدي إلى كده. The same for this one. It can cause something like that. It's like something that tells you there is something happen wrong, so you have to start and be aware. The same for these type of patterns here. Run of 5 above center line. احنا قلنا السنتر ليميت اللي هو المركزية الداتا، فمعناها تكون قريبة تواجد 5 نقاط متكررة over the center line. Also there is something going, an indication you have to start think about it. If I have trends like this, trends يعني زي تسارع في الهبوط أو تسارع في الصعود للداتا, also this is يعني a concern about the data. هنا تغير غير طبيعي، بيكون نزول بعد كده طلوع بعدين نزول. طبعا maybe this is you see it in the stock market as I said يعني that's something else is not control chart, those are run chart, it doesn't apply here. From here we're talking about specification. في مواصفات تحكمنا، يجب انه يكون منتجنا وخدمتنا اللي بنقدمها المصنع او الاورجنايزيشن اللي انت بتكون فيها بتكون ضمن مواصفات. فالمتغيرات اللي بتكون بالشكل ده we have to investigate it. The same here 5 in a row يعني 5 نقاط ورا بعض كلها تحت السنتر لاين، فمعناها عندي قرب للlower control وبعد للupper، فمعناها في variability I have to investigate it. All process are subject to a certain degree of variability. ما في process إلا بيكون معرضة للتغيرات. Otherwise you don't see the recall of products. Otherwise you don't see things are covered in the warranty. ليش بيحطوا الورنتي؟ لأنه في process variability وهذه متوقعة، فممكن يطلع شيء من القطع اللي موجودة في السيستم الكامل تعرضت إنها تكون هي خارج المواصفات بشكل أو بآخر. فبيكون that's why there is warranty for complex products, for some certain other also products, even if it's simple. So this is to tell you that there is always a process variability. حتى على مستوى الطلاب تلقى الطالب مثلا ما بيقدر يجيب A+A+A إلا ما تلقى مادة A يعني مرة، أو بيكون عنده شيء. There is also some يعني they could maintain 5 out of 5 along the way. لكن I'm talking about the common, there is a variability. Common and special causes are also there, and you have to deal with each one of them individually. الcommon خلاص هذه normal وقلنا هي طبيعية. Special causes you have to identify the causes ليش بتحدث و eliminate those points from your data, and you start to run the chart again to see if it's going to go back to normal or still there is something wrong happen. Key is to keep variation under control. يعني الهدف من هذا كله إنه يكون التغير في الداتا والبروسيس حقتي سواء سيرفيس ولا إنتاج إنها تكون within the normal behavior. هذا الهدف من الكنترول charts, to maintain my variability to be normal and investigate if the variability is not normal, so I investigate the causes. By this level, I hope you enjoyed this session about the quality. We have covered in general the importance of quality, some of the definitions of quality, the major methods or applications or topics that we covered in the quality. Total quality management, briefly just we went over that. SPC, statistical process control, it's going to be carried on during the program, not only in this course. That's why we give it more details and information. I hope you enjoyed this session. We will see you later with another subject in the quality and reliability. Thank you for watching, and see you.